Because the more miserable I make it, the more things they're going to appreciate in the real world. Something as simple as like water. Being able to go to your sink and get water whenever you want to. If you've never had to go without water or had to source your own water, you're going to appreciate that sink way more than what you ever have. Ever.
Welcome to Mindset Lessons from the Field. I'm Gina Kazaza, the author of the upcoming memoir, Training with a SEAL. And today we have a very special guest. This one is one of our bonus episodes that I have been really looking forward to. It's one of my favorite chapters in the book, and it's one of my favorite stories to tell. Everyone always asks about it. So I am beyond excited to introduce to you all Joe Hernandez, my former SERE instructor. Welcome, Joe.
Woo, that guy's awesome. Woo.
How are you? Thank you so much.
Put in some applause later. Put in some applause later for me.
For sure. Thank you for being here. I am beyond excited to talk to you. I have so many questions. This is what I get asked about the most, is like, why the heck in the world did you pay to get kidnapped? What was it like? So you're in every experience, every story when I tell it. So I am beyond excited to talk to you because I have so many questions that I've never asked you, and I'm excited to find out now.
Should we just say that the first time that we met, I was trying to kidnap you? Is that how we should start this with?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's what it was. That's look at us now.
Look at us. Who knew? Look at us.
Well, let's get into you first. Let's talk about you, because our viewers, they don't know about you, our listeners. And I want to know, like, how did you become a survival instructor? And give us a little bit of background on you.
Oh my gosh, that's a really long story. It's kind of always been like part of me. So I grew up in Mississippi, just south of Memphis, Tennessee. In a little town, what was a little town then, called Olive Branch. Now it's enormous, like metropolis. It's enormous. But when I was growing up, there was nothing to do. Like, it was just a bunch of woods, some trails, and kids on bikes. So I pretty much grew up in the woods, just getting lost. And me and my friends, we would try to intentionally get lost in the woods and then have to make it back before sunset. And that was just like what we did. I had a weird life. I don't do good with rejection. And in school, I got that a lot. I got rejection a whole lot. So I was always kind of by myself, more of a loner than anything. I had a lot of friends, I guess acquaintances, but not like any real friends, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I always just kind of found myself out in the woods, just trying to figure it out. And man, I fell in love with it. And then Rambo, the movie, came along, First Blood. Man, I wanted to be Rambo so damn bad. I want to be Rambo so damn bad. It's just like the idea of somebody that is good at everything, just a list of stuff that they're good at. Like, I wanted to be that, and I always thought there's no way that I could ever do that ever, because I'm just not that type of person. I thought you had to be special operations or some crap like that. I didn't know how to get into it. I didn't know if that was even possible for me. And it was just like a pipe dream, but it seemed like the coolest thing to do ever. And after high school, 9/11 happened. And I was like, I got to do something about this. Like, I have to. I was young. I was strong. I wanted to serve. And now this gave me a reason to actually do it. So I got all my shit together and joined the Air Force, spent a long time in the Air Force. And I was stationed in Germany. And I had the opportunity to work with some Air Force SERE instructors, like the actual SERE people. And I was like, oh my God, I could do this. I could do this. So after that, I went to a survival school in Scotland and got like my real formal training in there. Went to England for my instructor cert, and then eventually made it to California and started doing it for real.
Wait, when you did England or Scotland, was that the Bear Grylls one?
Yep, sure was.
That's insane. Yep. Wow. And then you went out to California and then became an instructor there.
Yep. So I was kind of moonlighting as a survival instructor, trying to cut my teeth, formally with it. And at
Mhm.
the same time, I was still active duty military. I was stationed in LA. What a banana that was.
Yeah.
So I was trying to, split both ways and figure out which way I wanted to go with this, and just completely fell in love with the woods, really.
Now, what was it like with the SERE instructors? What was it like learning from them and stuff? And what did you take from that that you brought into your program?
It was really the formalities of how to build a class, how to teach people stuff, because they got all this knowledge in their head and they got to put it into somebody else's head, and how they actually got that done. It was not like a school class where you're sitting down with books and taking notes and all that stuff. It was just throwing you out into the deep end. And we did a water survival, so it was literally throwing you in the deep end. And it was just such an eye-opening way to instruct and to teach people and to learn. And that was pretty much the big takeaway that I got from them, is just how to get everything that's in my head and all the craziness I've been through and get that to somebody else where they can digest it properly. Yeah.
So, what was the goal that you wanted each of your students to come out learning?
I mean, just a little bit more critical thinking, to be put into the woods and be put into a situation that's not comfortable to you. You really have to think. You might not have a pillow. Okay, I don't have a pillow. So how do I sleep at night comfortably? Let me think critically about this, and I'm gonna pile up a bunch of leaves and put my head on it, or I'm gonna take off my boot and I'm gonna use my boot as a pillow. So it's really about stepping outside of your comfort zones and being able to think critically to make yourself really as comfortable or as safe as you can.
So, is that how you ended up building your program? It was like, let me put these guys into the most uncomfortable situations and have them realize that they can make it through. Like they can make it through anything in a way.
Exactly that.
You definitely accomplished that. I'll throw that out there,
The course that you went through, when it first started, it was real easy. I mean, we were getting a lot of feedback that was just, this is too easy. I need more. I need more. And by the time you came along, I had it dialed in pretty good. And I had you low crawling up a gravel road.
Yeah. So it's really, so like each time you do it, you just make more and more improvements and adjustments to, elevating the program and the experience for everybody.
Yeah, I believe real highly in negative feedback. So anytime we get some negative feedback from people, I'd think about that real critically and figure out, what adjustments I can make. And man, I mean, just negative feedback is so good for everybody, just you got to eat your ego though. That's the hard part about it. But if you
Yeah.
get it done, I mean, you can make really good stuff just based off what people say.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get into my SERE experience and my class, because you mentioned, you've done this a couple of times and then you get into a new class. Do you know the people that are coming into class? You have a list. It's the first time you're seeing everybody, you're sizing them up. Like, how does it work in the instructor mindset of when you first start your class?
Oh, that's a really good question. So the week prior, maybe the month prior or something like that, what I'm doing is I'm doing a deep dive on all your social media. I'm trying to figure out who you are. I want to know what motivates you. I want to know when you shut down. I want to know where my line is. And I'm going to try to get as close to that line as I possibly can without overstepping it. So the months leading up to it, I'm just learning all about y'all. Usually we would have a list that would come through like a roster basically, but it was hit or miss. Some people would show up, some people would bring like, a family member that we weren't expecting, something like that. So we really had to go, on the fly and try to trick them into thinking that we were actually stalking them on the internet the whole time. The intent of doing that is, well, one, to figure out who these people are going to be and where the line is, but it's also intended to be an eye-opening experience. When I start telling you about your grandmother or where you lived when you were 7, and all that was done through Facebook, well, I need to lock down my Facebook. I need to delete this thing completely or whatever it is. So a couple different intents there.
So did you stalk me prior to meeting me, or was I one that you weren't sure about?
You were, let's see, I don't remember what yours was. I think I found you on Instagram because you were doing stand up at the time, weren't you?
I was doing stand-up at the time, yes, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. So I think I found you on Instagram,
Mhm.
and I learned just a little bit about you, but yours was pretty locked down. Oh, you know what? We got your roster pretty late, and I think it was like a day or two prior. So I had to like really rush to get through everybody. So I didn't really get through yours too much. But I knew who you were coming in.
Yeah.
I had a picture of you. I knew exactly who you were when I
Tell me
saw it.
that picture. I'm curious. Tell me that picture.
The picture was a tiny person, really. A tiny, I thought you're Italian, right?
Italian, 100%.
Yeah. So I'm expecting a tiny Italian. I hadn't heard your voice yet or your mannerisms.
Mhm.
So just kind of running off my own biases and prejudice, basically. I thought that you were going to be like a loud Italian, opinionated, a firecracker. And
Mhm.
you are a firecracker for sure. But I thought it was going to be to like the almost offensive type of Italian.
Yeah.
And not exactly what I got, but I was halfway there, so I'll give myself a little bit of credit.
It's different because I was going into it as a different person than who I am. I knew it was also a game. I mean, even if someone was to kidnap me in real life, life is a game. Everything's a game. So I can't be that, part of me, the person I am now with you, as opposed to the first day. I'm like, this guy's about to kidnap me at any second of the day. Like I am going to already like be as quiet. I'm a loud person. I love talking. But I'm all like in the back, quiet, freezing. I wanted to make it seem like I was super weak. So that way you take it easy on
Right.
me. So I was just like, I was already like in that mindset of, playing this game essentially when I say that, people are always like, well, it wasn't real. And I was like, but when you were there, it really feels real. Like when you ran into that room with that flash pin and everyone had to jump down, you're snatching people, and then people are being hunted. And I'm like, this is like real life. I'm like, this is like it was insane for like the beginning part of it was different because you were teaching, you were learning, we were kind of sizing each other up in a way. And then when the kidnapping began, it was just like a night and day switch where, I mean, I was scared. I was like, oh my God. So I want to talk more too about those first couple of days as you're assessing everybody and going through it. I remember one of the games we played was like two truths and a lie, I believe it was, and everyone had to guess the other person's lie. So as an instructor, what's going on in your mind as we're playing these games? Because I'm feeling like you're playing these games also to get to know us even more, to push those boundaries. And I want to know what's going on in your mind while you're in day one of assessing everybody.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So there's a lot of reasons for this. Some of the games that we played was just to annoy you, was just to get you like, what are we doing here? Why are I paid for this? Like just to piss you off. Like that's it.
Yeah.
The more pissed off you are, the less that you're thinking like a person, and the more you're thinking like a lizard. And I want you thinking like a lizard. But at the same time, I want you to have success in this program. So I'm thinking about that the whole time. Where is their limit? How far can I really push these people? And I want to make them, I want you to make it through, basically. Some of the other games that I was playing was to kind of show y'all that even though I look like this, I look like a hobo. I know a lot. I do a lot, and I don't want people to look at me and be like, "Oh, that guy's a veteran," or "Oh, that guy, I don't want to mess with that guy." I want them to just see a gray person just walking down the street. So one of the things that I was trying to do with the two truths and a lie, I was trying to get y'all to open up a little bit and put all your perceptions that you may have or preconceived notions that you might have about me, and then help you break them. So some of the things, some of the two truths and a lie that I would ask y'all is I said, pick which one is correct. Am I either a retired Navy SEAL, college professor, or an Olympic archer?
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that one.
They all seem fantastic, right? They're all like, what?
Yeah,
This guy is one of those three things, you know?
yeah.
So I try to make y'all pick which one I am.
The
Which one
the
I am?
Olympic archer I thought was a really interesting story because you also like mentioned you had a really intense backstory with it, as I recall. You know, something about your back or like something in your and you equated. I think you have a scar or something. So like when people asked it, you were like, you know, you were able to show it. So then people were like, oh my gosh, like this could actually be true. So I was always interested in hearing all. You ever read that book, Don't Be Deceived, I think it's called?
I've heard of it. I don't really do a whole lot of reading, but I've heard of it.
I read that after this because I remember also we had that lie situation. You also did interrogation because this was like, I didn't realize what I signed up for. I'll tell you that. I thought it was just like a normal kidnapping. We're like, you're going to come behind me, stuff me in a trunk, and I was going to have to escape. Like, I was like going for like a neighborhood kidnapping, you know, something like basic. I didn't know that it was like the Taliban was going to kidnap me, you know, and the way you guys were talking and prepping, I was just like, if the Taliban was to kidnap me, like, I just rather kill myself, you know, like and then you're all talking about like all these interrogation things. And I'm just like, there's so many things going through my mind that I wasn't thinking of because I really didn't know what I was walking into. I mean, I almost didn't get a tent before this program because, you know, a list was sent out on what we should have and bring with us. And I'm going through this list and I go, well, I'm being kidnapped. Well, I need any of this for? Like, I don't, unnecessary. And I have none of that. My family's never like camped in a day in their life. So I don't have anything. And my brother was like, you might as well just go on Amazon just to you could always return it. Better to have it in the car. And like 2 days before this experience is when I got my equipment and went. Thank God I did. But I had no coat. I had only cotton. I didn't know any of this stuff. I should have did like survival 101 before I did SERE, you know, like
No. I love it when people like you come through that have no experience that I mean have never camped before in their lives. Oh, I love it. And then we just throw them into this crazy ass scenario and they learn by failing. I mean, I'm sure you did too. I'm sure you learned by failing what to do, what not to do. And those are lessons that are going to stick with you forever. You're probably never going to forget that stuff. So I love it.
For sure, for sure. Like right now, sometimes I'm right now on the East Coast and the weather's just getting colder. I'm up in New York and it's just getting colder. And it's just funny though, because I'm always like, when I'm a little cold, I'm like, you slept on the ground. It was like 37 degrees. I was like, this is nothing, right? But you always, it's funny when you find yourself in those uncomfortable positions, you make it through. Doesn't mean I want to go back to that uncomfortable position. You know, like I'm used to the comfortable. I'm used to the comfort that I've built for myself and since I've had since birth. I like putting myself in those uncomfortable situations to test myself. But at the same time, when I come out of it, sometimes I always want to get back to it just to remember that strength and remember that hardship, because when I'm back into the comfortable and life happens that gets a little hard, you go back to that all the time because like I just went through that. I can easily get through this little hiccup in my life, you know? So for you, is that the one thing that you really, or one of the things that you like from your students, where it's more like equating it to the real world? The best way for me to say it, like how they could take what you learn and bring it into the real world? Or is it more just like, I just want to make this as miserable and
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of goes both ways because the more miserable I make it, the more things they're going to appreciate in the real world. You know, something as simple as like water. You know, being able to go to your sink and get water whenever you want to. If you've never had to go without water or had to source your own water, you're going to appreciate that sink way more than what you ever have, ever. An extreme example is I used to wear glasses. I wore glasses for 37 years, right? I got LASIK recently. And every single day I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I can see. I love my eyes. I can see John Cena. I can see so good. Okay. I love it. But I appreciate that because I know what glasses is like and how much it sucks. So if I can make these experiences for y'all super hard, where it's going to suck real bad, right? You're going to appreciate everything, everything. From my first deployment, when I came back, the thing that I noticed the most was street lights. I'm still amazed when I see a street light. What a waste of energy just to light up part of a street. This is absurd, and I love it. Thank God we live in the country we do. So it's just stuff like that. Let me make this really hard for you and see what you like on the back end.
When you were sizing people up, right? Were you like, they're going to do that, they're going to do that, I'm going to make it, or it's like kind of like a group of hard, you know, like you came in knowing the hard and then you kind of divided, or like, because I'm short, because each person, I remember this one kid that was there, he's not a kid, he's a man, and he was just like, I mean, he could step on me, and I just feel like his hard and my hard are two totally different hards. And I want to know from an instructor standpoint, like, how do you come about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Everybody is struggling. Everybody is messed up. Everybody. So what's hard to you might not be hard to that big guy that's in your same group. But what might be really hard for that big guy is to be a team player with you, to help you get through the things that are easy for him. So when I'm sizing people up on day 1, day 2, whatever it may be, what I'm looking for is, where do I think people are lacking skills? And then I apply all these hard things that we do, and everything that we did was planned. I mean, everything was planned and intentional. So like low crawling up that gravel road, that was probably difficult for you. That probably sucked, right? That big dude probably didn't have a problem with it. He's probably done that 1,000 times. But when he got to the top of the hill, he didn't go back and cheer you on. He sat at the top of the hill and waited for you. There we go. So you're not a great team player. How can I manipulate things to make it hard for you? Oh, you know what? I'm going to team you up with Gina. All right, you guys are teammates now. You don't go to the bathroom without each other. You're always next to each other. Good luck. And I see him go, oh, God. And I see you go, yay. So mission accomplished.
For sure. I do remember the teammate when you put, you know, it was a two and two, but then with my group, there was a group that came in as a group. Like they came in as a 5 or a 6. I think it was 5 of them. So they were a group. And then I had my group was a 5 or a 6. I forgot. So it was like, you know, everything was kind of around me with them and them by them, you know, them in their own group, which I thought was really interesting. I'm just curious for myself, like, what were the weaknesses that you assessed for me?
For you, it's just physical strength. Really, that was it. Lack of experience for being in the woods, but you had like determination. Like from the first 5 minutes of meeting you, I could tell like you were going to be a tough nut to crack because you're determined and you're tough, mentally tough. I don't really think there's many things that you would say, I don't want to do that. You would probably say, shit, I'll figure it out. Yeah, it looks like it sucks. Let me try the best way that I know how to do this. Those are the toughest people to crack. Oh, awful, awful. I think it was your group. You had a lawyer too that was there, right?
I don't know. I remember we had the Operation Underground, the railroad people. And then in my group, I just remember brain scientist. You can't forget someone when they say they're a brain scientist. I mean, you just can't. And we had Kevin who just kept coming back for more. He just came back.
Oh yeah, top shelf. Yeah, I didn't forget about him.
Yeah. And I actually have a photo of the SERE team that I was with, because we did the foraging. That what is where you go, you know, hunt, you know, find stuff in the woods. We all did that together afterwards. So after we like went through it, like being in that survival school, it was interesting because in a way too, I'm sizing people up. I'm wondering like, and in my head, I wanted to know what these guys were thinking, because I was coming from Coach Mac's world where he was like teaching me things that I wouldn't have done in the SERE experience. I kept going up to these guys and I'm like, you guys let me know if you need anything. And they're like, in their mind, I'm just like, what are they thinking? Like, what does she need from us? You know, but I just kept on doing my best to focus on everybody else, because I was legit like, what when am I getting kidnapped? What is going on? Like, and I'm also terrified. There was just so many fears, terrified of the dark. I couldn't sleep the first night because I also thought, like, I thought someone was going to come into the tent. I thought someone was going to take me right then and there. It was a psychological game. You won that round, and I couldn't sleep. I was also freezing. I got this sleeping bag that said like good for 20 below, false marketing. It was not good for 20 below. I was so cold all night, wide awake, wondering, looking over my shoulder 24/7. I don't like the dark. I don't like being alone. I don't like being alone in the dark. Like, none of that was fun. So I was just like, oh my God. And then the next morning, though, you were like, how's your night? And I was like, this is where I'm going to get them to, because I wanted you so concerned about me, so concerned that it was going to be a little bit easier, where I was like, I didn't sleep all night. And I wasn't lying. I was like, well, 100% like didn't sleep, but I definitely hammed it up because I wanted to, again, be like, oh my God, she didn't sleep for the night. She's not going to sleep tonight. Like, I was doing my best to get you guys to like really get a little concerned. And I want to know, like, did that work? Were you a bit worried? Like I wasn't going to make it through? Were you a bit worried? Like because another thing too, is that like at one point when we escape, you're on your own all night, like you and your partner, but you as an instructor, do you worry about that? Like, are they going to make it? Am I going to see them in the morning? Like, do you think about that?
Not even a little bit. I couldn't care any less how you felt. I really couldn't. What I was concerned about was, is she a rule follower? Is she going to stay with the group? If she stays with the group, totally fine. She's going to suffer all night, and that's where I want you to be. I want you to suffer, but the safety part of it, you're with a group. You're fine. You're fine. So that's the part that I was really worried about. And then every morning, I would look at y'all and do basically a medical assessment. Is anything broken? Is anything bleeding? Are they breathing okay? Are they about to go crazy? So I would assess you that way, basically all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you were fine. You're fine. So I didn't know that you were trying to do the damsel in distress or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you're doing that. But during the interrogations, I was going to take you right to that line and really figure out where the act is and where the act isn't.
Mm-hmm.
That was my plan. But
I was ready for it. I mean, I was ready for it. Like I knew the moment. Well, the thing too is that I knew that you knew I was a trained actress. So that was another thing I was fighting against, because I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't give that information up. And so that part, because I was like, anything I do, you might not believe, so because of that aspect. And plus you picked me to give that lie story where everyone had to believe it was true or not true. And when I fooled everyone by saying my story was a complete lie and I cried in the story, I was like, I feel like I ruined it for myself, because if I was to cry, who's to say you'd even believe it, so I definitely like had it in my mind, like when you were to kidnap me, like the moment it was going to happen, I was going to cry. And when I say cry, I mean like I was ready to go hysterical. I was ready to just like give it all I possibly got, like hyperventilate, cry. Like I was ready for it. I was 100% ready for it. Obviously that didn't happen. But then part of me is just like, oh my God, thank God. But then the other part of me is like, I wish I would have experienced it. So tell me, let's go through that, because not a lot of our listeners know and understand what happened. So in my group, well, I left my group. The other group, they ended up escaping, and I followed them. So let's go. Let's talk about that.
Okay. So I'll just give you a basic rundown of how all this works and like where my mind is building this course. The course has changed a whole bunch since yours, so I'm not giving anything away. All right. So on day one, when everybody first comes in, I act like I'm a student and I'm just sitting around with everybody, BSing, trying to figure out who's who. And I'm playing like the damsel in distress. I'm acting like I'm super scared, that I don't want this to happen. I don't have any experience in the woods, and I'm just being meek the whole time. About halfway through the first day, after we get through all the safety crap and all of the disclaimers and paperwork, blah 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 blah, then I'm introduced as the lead instructor, and people's eyes, what? This guy has been sitting next to me the whole time. This guy that looks like Hobo Jesus is the actual instructor. So people just lose it from that point, and it breaks everybody's trust. So from day one, several hours into the course, people are paranoid. They're looking around. Who else is a mole? Who else is going to be doing this? When are we getting kidnapped? Is this going to happen now? Is this going to happen later? So we start that mind game. And on day one, I put y'all through a whole bunch of just stupid, sometimes useless exercises just to get y'all pissed off, wet, and cold and sandy. And that's it. The instructors the whole time, what we're doing is we're trading off. So one of us can go eat, or one of us can go take a nap, or one of us are too sweaty, so we need to change our shirt. We're trying to look like nothing affects us. And I don't think that you saw me eat the entire course. That was intentional. That was very, very intentional. I was eating up a storm, but every time you were gone. So we want to seem, look, we're not taking care of ourselves out here on this thing, and it's totally fine. We're still functioning normal. So you all need to do the same damn thing. Now drink some damn water. That's kind of what we're getting at. And then on day two, we make y'all make camp on a hill. So you're not going to sleep at all. It's awful. Or actually, that's night one. Yeah, that's night one. We make y'all sleep on a hill. It's awful. And then we screw with y'all sometimes during the night. Different classes, we would throw some flashbangs or shoot off some guns, something like that, just kind of screw with y'all. With your course, we didn't. I don't remember why. I think we had.
I would have remembered. I would have 100%. I was ready. I was like prepared for something to happen.
I think we had manpower issues that day. Like somebody had to go early. One of the instructors had to leave early, and we couldn't do it. I forgot exactly what happened to yours, but we didn't screw with you. So there's no story there. And then on day two, put you through some more training scenarios, get you more paranoid about when you're going to be kidnapped. We even told you that the kidnap team is in the area. And I would tell y'all, I don't know when they're going to kidnap you. I say, you know you're being kidnapped. I don't know when it's going to be. They're in the area, though, so keep your head on a swivel. Just trying to get you more paranoid. I knew exactly when it was going to happen. I was going to be the one doing it. So we're just screwing with your head the whole time. And then we try to disarm you as you go through and make you paranoid, but also make you think that I'm the good guy. If I'm around, then nothing's going to happen to you, that kind of thing. So we try to make it feel that way. And then when the kidnap happens, here's some especially devious stuff that we did. So there was no kidnap team. The kidnap team was me and two other instructors. Mm-hmm. Now, how in the hell are 3 people supposed to hem up a big class like what you had? I think you had 15 or 16 in your class. How are we supposed to manage that many people? It's impossible. So we would go to a class that was going on next door to us, one of the other survival courses, and we would pull from students. Hey, do y'all want to come kidnap people with us? It'd be a lot of fun. And they're always like, yeah, I want to go. So we bring a bunch of people from other classes, just other students, just kind of screw with you. And it made it seem like a big team was coming in. Well, I hope it felt like a big team that was coming in.
It felt like a big team. I mean, when I tell the story, I'm like this, because it's a one-room schoolhouse, really. That's how I explain it. And when you threw it in, and then you came from the back and you were screaming everybody down, and I'm jumping down, like that's where my rule following comes into play. And then I remember, I was like, when I tell the story, I'm like, we're surrounded. It's like 20 people. Because all I remember, it was like very different from my situation, because I am figuring out like, how am I going to escape you? I didn't know. And, I'm just in my own universe of everything that's going on. So for me, it was like 20 people grabbing, snatching, and I'm just figuring it out. So what was it really? Was there 20 people? What was really going on?
Today's episode is sponsored by my favorite jewelry company, Omnia. Omnia blends genuine crystals with cutting-edge NFC technology to create the world's first smart crystal bracelet. This bracelet connects to the Elevate web application, giving you a membership to over 200 self-care resources, from meditations to journals to breathing exercises and so much more. Visit discoveromnia.com and use code MindsetPodcast for 40% off. Discover Omnia.com, your key to wellness.
So your whole thing was screwed up from the start, dude. One of the other instructors was late getting back, like several hours. So we had to delay your kidnapping by, I think, 2 hours. We wanted to snatch you during the day at around 3 or 4. But because we had one instructor that was missing, we had to push it off till like 5 or 6. It was just before dusk when we actually took y'all. So just kind of set up the scene here. It's one cabin, like a camping cabin where y'all were at. It's like the main teaching cabin, whatever you want to call it. Pretty big. I'm not sure how many square feet, but it was a pretty decent size little cabin. Some couches in there and some tables, stuff like that. And then so what I did was I told y'all, sit in here, and I gave you some menial tasks to do. I think you were working on putting crap in your SERE pants.
Oh yeah, we were doing SERE pants, yeah, and stuff. And then I remember, I guess it makes sense though that everyone was running late, because also then we were like kind of eating some snacks and just kind of like shooting the breeze for a bit, because you guys did mention, it was getting later and later in the day, and this is only a weekend. Yep. So I remember being like, you guys mentioned like it's going to be happening, and I remember going off on my own for a hot second, and one of the instructors was like, "Are you by yourself? You could be taken at any minute." And I remember like getting back into that, oh my God, like, because when I was around you, I definitely felt a little, even though you were the one that was going to kidnap me, I felt more safe because, you were the one that was instructing the whole entire thing too. So yeah, it makes sense though that hearing it from the back end, I've never heard this part that they were running late and all that. It's starting to make sense. Yeah, we were doing SERE pants. Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried real hard to establish that rapport. So when I was around, I kind of felt like a security blanket, nothing's going to happen. Joe's here. It's fine. Oh, yeah. we're about to do a lesson or something. So yeah, worked hard on that. Now on day one of the safety briefings was don't hurt the instructors. If people come in to kidnap you, go along with it. Escape later. When we came in to kidnap you, I came in through. I think I came in through the front door. 2 others came in through the back.
You were in the back. You were in the back.
I was in the back. Okay. So 2 came in through the back. Some other people came in through the front. I should back up a little bit. So I went to go collect some more troops from the other class to help with this kidnapping. We had paintball guns for the very first time. We had paintball guns, and I gave one of the dudes an empty paintball gun. It just had like the air that was in it. I didn't want him to shoot you because it would be some liability stuff. Let me take that liability. Well, he starts popping rounds off into the air, and I was like, "What are you doing? You're going to tell everybody that you were doing this? What are you doing?" I was so mad at this guy. And it gave us away. Like, I think you knew it was about to happen. So everybody was ready. So when we came into this cabin.
No idea. Maybe those guys did, the ones I followed. Maybe that's why they were like able to do what they did. But for me, I was just in clueless land. So continue.
These guys. So we throw some flashbangs in, just our standard protocol, throw in some flashbangs, get everybody disoriented, and then open the doors and just bum rush in, screaming, hooting and hollering, flashlights, the whole thing. As soon as the flashbangs go in, boom, boom, I jump in through one of the doors, and I see 4 giant people sprinting at me. And I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" They just put a hand on my face, push me over, trample me, and run away.
No way.
What the hell was that? What just happened? Those are some pretty big rules that we just broke here, bro. And like, while I'm screaming at them to come back, what do I feel? I feel Gina smack me in the back of the head and take off running. Hey, there goes Gina. What do we do now?
I had no idea that was happening. Like, I am telling you, all I remember is getting on the ground. You say down, I jump down. And then I just remember Coach Mac in my head, because 9 out of 10 times prior to Coach Mac, actually I should say 10 out of 10 times, I'm not paying attention. I'm just like in my, like whatever's going on around me, I'm kind of like head down, like, covering and seeing what happens. And he was always like, you need to see what's going on at all times, like always be on the alert. So I have him in my mind going, look up, look up, look up. So I'm looking up and I'm seeing these 4 dudes like running, and they were huge guys. And they're running out. And I was like, I didn't know escape was an option. Like, I thought you had to get kidnapped, which obviously you're supposed to. But I'm looking at them and in my mind, I go, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, why get kidnapped in the first place, right? So then I go up to go and run out, and then everyone's really paying attention, grabbing everyone. Now it's becoming quicker where they're just grabbing and snatching, and so I jumped down one more time, because then you have the girl that was in the group with them that was right behind them. And I wanted everyone to pay attention to her. I'm an easy target, like I'm an easy one to get. So I was like, get back down. So I transitioned down, and then I'm paying attention and looking up. She was wearing a backpack. I think one of the instructors, the female instructor, grabbed her backpack and went to go and grab her, and she was able to like shimmy out of it. And I think you were next to her as that was happening and doing your best to reel in that situation. And there was an opening for me, and I just barreled through. And then I'm running like my life depended on it. Like I thought I was in Hunger Games. I was just like, I've never ran that fast in my life. And they ran for a good 5 to 10 minutes, and it was, once you run through that little camp area, it's just a straight hill down. And I was absolutely like, like as I'm running too, I'm thinking I'm going to like fall forward down this mountain. Like there were so many things going through my mind. And also these guys clearly had in my mind, I don't know for sure, they had a plan to escape. Like the way that it was handled, like to me, I was like, they had a plan. I had no plan to escape. I didn't know escape was an option. So for me, they don't even know that I'm there. Like they had no clue. I was the last one out. So like I had to do my best to keep up with them. And they're not just running down the mountain, they're running the side of the mountain, they're running back up the mountain, they're running all over the place. And then at some point they stop. And when they stop, I'm coughing like I could not stop coughing. The amount of dust and oh my gosh, it was just like, or dirt, whatever it is, in my mouth and face. And I'm just like, I'm going to give us away. Like, I'm going to give us away just by my coughing alone. And they turn around to assess who came out. And they were like, oh, Gina, like, what a shock. And these are the guys that I kept looking at going, if you guys need anything, let me know. And they're like, and then here I am like there. And I'm like, do you mind if I join you guys? And they're like, no, it's fine. And then that's how we ended up like having an even number to 2, 2, and 2 to split up, because then their objective was, we don't want to stick together because you guys are tracking us. So we should be 2, 2, and 2 and go all different ways on the mountain. So, and then we had our own meeting point for all of us to then go and meet. So like, that's how they did it. Now, my mind, I don't know if I would have thought like any of these people, because I didn't even know escape was an option, or that they were even going to escape, or what was going to happen. I just kind of followed them. And then I wouldn't have thought like, oh, they're all tracking us. Like the way that everyone's mind's working, I'm just like, my mind is just in survival mode. That's it. However I can survive. And then at one point, I remember putting my phone down. Didn't want to have my phone just in case it got lost in the woods. Like that wouldn't be good. And I remember my group I left behind, and they had my number. So they were texting me Oklahoma, which was our safety word, to end the game and for us to come back. Part of me was like, I said to them, I'm like, I can't go back. No, I'm like, they're going to destroy us. I'm like, they're pissed that we escaped. I was like, there's no crying that I had planned is going to help. I'm like, we can't go back, and they were like, we're not going back anyway. Like the whole entire point is not get kidnapped in the first place. And I was like, I think it's to get kidnapped, like to get through the kidnapping. But at the same time, I'd rather not go through it in the first place. So I was like, okay. But yeah, I heard. So let's talk about that. So what happened? I was last to leave and then assess everything. Like you already did you have bags over their head? Were you zipped up? Like, how did you capture the people that you captured? Because I don't even know.
I was so furious that y'all got to jump on us. Not that you reacted. I'm very happy you reacted and you ran and you did what you did. Super happy. That's great. But I was so furious because like now it's like we have to stop training. We got to go find these people because now it's a dangerous situation. Y'all are out there with no supplies whatsoever. You're not responding back to our safety word to come back. And it's like, oh God, what are we going to do? So I was pretty mad. I was pretty mad at
I
it.
didn't even hear the safety word. I think also when you're like in that tunnel vision of what
Yeah.
is going on, I like didn't hear any. I mean, there was like tunnel hearing, everything was just shut down as I was just like, I got to keep up with these guys because in my mind, I was like, they don't even know that I'm there. And if they don't know that, how I'm not going to be able to make it. Like I have to keep up with these guys just for my own safety.
Yeah, I'm glad you did because you would have been not in a good situation. Had you not kept up with them, that would have been real, real dangerous. Like,
No, I probably would have ended up coming back.
yeah,
I would have no choice. I mean, what was I going to do?
yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. The whole time you were running, I was throwing shit at you. I was yelling. You were gone, dude.
Gone.
Just
Yeah.
give me the bird and you're gone later.
I didn't even know I could run that fast. I had no idea.
So the other people that stuck around, we gave them hell. That was probably the hardest that we've gone on anybody at any course.
Was it because you were also so pissed that that kind of translated to them?
Not really. I wasn't really taking it out on them, but we were certain that there was a pre-made plan and everybody knew the plan that they were just going to run regardless of what the rules were, regardless of what the plan was. They were just going to take off anyways. So we were trying to get them to admit there was a plan and where the meetup location was so we can go find your group basically.
Okay, so just so I understand. So the group that, let's go group A, group B.
Okay.
Technically, I was with group A that got kidnapped.
Yeah. So,
but I ended up with group B because I followed them. Now you believe that group B like discussed it because we were put in groups day one. So we knew, and everything that we did together, like when you put us into stress positions throughout day one, it was always within our groups.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about that particular group B that escaped, like you are saying you were getting them to just admit and that they had that this was their plan the whole entire time to just run.
Yeah. So the people that you ran with, I was convinced that they were going to do this anyways. Like whatever we told them to do, they just already had it in their mind. As soon as we get kidnapped, we're just going to take off. We're going to punch dudes in the face and we're going to be gone. So I was trying to get the other people that stuck around that were actually kidnapped. I was trying to get them to admit that it was a plan. They knew it. And more importantly, I was trying to figure out where the meetup location was so we could bring you and all the escapees back and continue on with the course. And I know that you would be safe. That's what I was really working on there, is just making sure that y'all were alive. Yeah. If y'all die in the woods, I'm gonna lose my job. And I didn't want to lose that job. So I'm pretty worried about you. But these other people that we did actually kidnap, I mean, we went hard. We went hard. We had them standing on pine cones barefoot. We tied one dude upside down to a tree with his head on a pine cone. We were beating him with whips or like extension cord type things. I mean, we went hard on these people. And turns out they didn't know that it was a plan. They had no idea. Whoops. Usually it's just a real light, we'll smack you around a little bit. Maybe we'll waterboard you, real simple, easy stuff. And it takes 5-10 minutes, just kind of soften you up a bit. And then we take you to the showers. These people, we did that for about 2 hours. So yeah, we went kind of long on them. But it wasn't because I was mad. It was because I was trying to figure out where you were so I can make sure you're safe. Y'all didn't have cell phones. You didn't have, keys on you. You didn't know where you were. You were way outside of bounds from the play area. We tracked y'all for a good 2 hours or so. And then once you finally went too far out of bounds, I was like, we're not going to find them. They're off somewhere else. We have a whole nother group of people that we have to make sure are safe. So let's go to these people and continue on with the course. So we kind of had to split you up, and basically we kind of wrote you off a little bit. We knew that you would hopefully make it back to the play area, a big lake that you had to stay around. We were hoping that you'd make it back there eventually, so we'd have another chance to track you later on. But for right now, we gotta see what's in front of our face, and we got to continue on this course. It was either that or just shut it all down and call, Forest Services and get in a big line and start looking for you. So it was like, let's just cross our fingers and hope they're okay. That's really what it came down to. So for the other people, we beat them up for a while, and then we zip tied them and or handcuffed them. We would use duct tape. We would use whatever we had, rope, whatever we had laying around, And we would use it in combinations to get them to practice getting out of handcuffs, and then getting out of the zip ties, and then getting out of the tape or whatever it may be. Bags over their heads, and they're like pillowcases that were cotton. So when the pillowcase gets wet, it swells, and it kind of sticks to your face and gives you the feeling of I can't breathe. You can still breathe, yeah. It's fine, but it's awful. Oh my God, it's awful. People panic and stuff. Like, we've had some major freakouts, and I love it. I eat that shit up. It's awesome. Kind of down the way from where the main cabin was like a big fire pit and like this big, huge, dusty area.
Oh yeah, yes.
So we dragged everybody down there, put them on their knees, hit them with cold water, got them all nice and wet and sandy and pissed off, and then drugged them to a empty cabin, a big, dark, scary, spooky, spider-ridden cabin. Threw them in there, and that was their holding cell. Okay. From there, we take one person at a time to the camp bathrooms, to the showers. I mean, what's more creepy than a camp bathroom? You ever seen Candyman from like 93 or something like that? It's this really stupid movie, but it's really scary. And one of the scary parts in there that still freaks me out today, one of the main victims of this monster Candyman has to go into this like old bathroom, like an old public bathroom. And there's like bees and stuff everywhere. Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. So that's why we picked the bathrooms, because they're horrible. Anyway, so we dragged them in there, and then that's when we would do the official interrogation interview, whatever. There were some showers in there. We chained people to toilets with a turd floating in it. We try to be as gross and creative as we could. Sometimes people would start just talking like a canary. You had a lawyer that was in your group. She wasn't supposed to be in the SERE course. She thought she was doing like a basic survival. And then when people started getting kidnapped, she's like, what the hell is happening right now? What do you mean I'm getting kidnapped? So I chained her up to a toilet with a turd floating in it, and she cracked like immediately. That was cool. I enjoyed that one. And then I played a bunch of mind games with you for that night.
You got her to admit when she cracked. What'd you get her to admit?
Her bank account number.
Oh.
Bank account number. I got her social, her bank account, her credit card, PIN number, or her ATM PIN, something like that. Her address, like any number that she ever collected, I got it from her.
Interesting. I mean, part of my plan too is to tell you whatever you wanted. You know, you want to know this, you got it, no problem. In my mind, I was just gonna give you whatever. My mind just was going to like the most extreme, like hell on earth that you were gonna put me through. And the only way for me like to get through it was just like give you, I mean, you mentioned it too on day one when you're talking about interrogations. I remember you said like everybody has a breaking point. Like everybody on the planet has a breaking point. And it's just, you know, how far is too far, you know, or how far are you going to be able to push to hit that breaking point? You know, in my mind already, it was like, what do you want to know? Like, I'll tell you any, like there's nothing for me that's that important in my life where I would be like, you know, where I wouldn't tell you. There's one point where it's like, if my family was involved, you know, I'm going to do my best to not break because now I have my family, but any other member outside of my immediate family, like, do whatever you need to do to them or whatever. Like, I'm like, oh, yeah. So I thought that was also definitely an interesting lesson that you were teaching throughout day one that I was trying to pick up as well.
That was kind of my plan for you, was to start bringing up family. It didn't look like you had any kids. So I was going to start with that to try to confirm that you didn't have any. And then I'd start going for nieces, nephews, neighbors, any kind of children. I was going to harp real hard on kids for you. I don't know why I really got that vibe. Like as soon as we met, I was like, oh, okay, maybe kids is a good way to go with her. That was my idea anyways.
Funny, when I met you, no kids at all in any aspect of my life, like at all. So that was, yes, that's an interesting one. So when you torture everybody and get them through it, I heard it was a long time. It was like 3 to 4 hours before they had an opportunity to escape, which means that I'm not sure when you guys started, because I heard from like the grapevine that you guys kind of had a meeting after we escaped because that was not part of the plan that you guys had. That was not part of my plan, or, you know, so I heard that you guys had a bit of a meeting before you went back to that. So I feel like things just automatically were getting delayed. The kidnapping was delayed. This was getting delayed. Like the tour train was getting delayed. And I heard like these guys didn't get out of there until like almost midnight, where then they were getting hunted in the woods. Now, is that factual? Is that accurate? And then what happens when that happens, when they escape? Are they escaping as a team? Were they escaping 2 and 2? Like, I don't know this part, so fill me in.
Yeah, so I think we did the snatch at around 5 o'clock for y'all. And then we had a meeting pretty much right afterwards of like, what the hell we're going to do now? We have to go find these people. So we kind of broke it up into teams. We started torturing the people right outside the cabin, tied them to trees, put them in stress positions, did a bunch of really awful stuff to them, and then just left them there. Just left them there to cook. We call it letting them cook. So we just let them there to cook. And then me and a bunch of other instructors, we went out into the woods looking for y'all. So they were just hanging out, cooking, and they didn't know where we went. They thought that we were still there messing with other people. So that's fine, whatever. But we're actually in the woods looking for y'all. And then it was probably about 8 o'clock, maybe somewhere around there, when we finally took them back to their holding cell. So they'd been cooking for several hours at that point.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah. We started doing interrogations probably around 9:30 or 10, and then really didn't get finished until about 1. We try to get.
And how long did the interrogation for each person last? Was it like 30 minutes? Was it an hour? Was it? Because I believe it was only 5 people.
Yeah, it really varies. Some people, they just want to tell you everything without ever being touched. And it's like, no, you're still going to go through some shit. This is part of it. Sorry. So we'd put them through mild, real mild stuff, probably 10, 15 minutes for people like that. But then the people that really want to sit there and clam up, all right, well, fine. We'll just throw them in the shower, turn it on cold, and just walk away. And then go get another person, do the interrogation with that person while they're still in the shower freezing. Hey, you ready yet? Fuck you. Okay, see you in 10 minutes. That kind of thing. And then we just kind of work through that way. Because there was not a lot of people in this one, we brought them all into the bathroom and we did something stupid with it. I forgot what it was, though. There was like a dressing room that we made them do push-ups in the like the gross water that was all over the floor. We made them do push-ups or something in there. They probably got hepatitis now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, we did something stupid, and we made them just hang out there till about 1, put them back into their cell. And then the idea is when you're in your cell, you're looking for the right time to escape if possible. We would put them in the cell, we would all go away, and we go hide in the woods and wait for them to make the move. And then hopefully, they come out all sneaky, making sure there's no guards or anything. And then they disperse off into the woods. That's what we want to see. And that's basically what they did. They were real slow coming out. I think the lawyer didn't want to go at all. She was just like, no, I'll just stay here handcuffed. We're good. Good night. But they drug her out. Oh, they had to go back to the main cabin because we took their shoes. So they had to go back to the main cabin, gather all their gear, and then they got the hell out of there.
Now, how did they get dry?
They didn't.
Now, do you get worried about that? I mean, it was like 37 degrees that night. Like, do you get worried about that at all?
Very, very worried. That's probably my number one concern during the escape. One of the reasons why on day 1 we start going over like jumping jacks and burpees and push-ups and all the dumb shit that we do on day 1. It's a survival burpee because it's going to keep you warm. If you start getting too cold, you start doing burpees. Is it loud and obnoxious? Sometimes. You got to learn how to be sneaky, right? Yeah, that's always my number one concern. I don't want somebody to get hypothermia out here.
Well, I didn't have a coat, as I mentioned. I was just wearing cotton because I didn't know that cotton's a killer. I had no idea. I remember you were like 100% going to get soaking wet. And I was just like, I don't have anything else. Like, I legit have nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. Like, I'm not going to make it. And then the brain scientist gave me his jacket. And I was just like, oh my God, bless you. Like, oh my, like I owe you my kidney. Like, thank you so much. Cause I wouldn't have made it. I really don't. I mean, I would have really struggled completely. I mean, when we were just out in that woods, we all split up to 2 and 2, but 2 of us ended up meeting up, and we were all supposed to meet at the meeting point. It was by the lake that we were all supposed to go to anyway, that like safe area. So we were all supposed to go that way. And that's where we were all heading. And then me and my partner ended up meeting up with the other two people, we all got together and we found a rock to sleep behind because we knew you guys had those infrareds. And then we were like, well, you guys could see us in a bush or things like that with those type of things. And we were like, we needed a giant rock. That was the case. So we were like, let's get behind this thing. But it was also the side of the mountain. So like these guys, I can't lift them. We talked about my physical strength. That's, like there is none. So they lifted up a tree trunk that was like this long tree trunk to put in the hill. So then when we slept, we had a bar, so we wouldn't be falling. We would have fell right down the mountain, so we had that. So they did that. And then the four of us are like cuddling together. They all knew each other. I'm the one that doesn't like to be touched. I don't know anybody, but yeah, for my body heat, like touch me. Like I was just like, you know what? At this point, we're like arm in arm, hand in hand, leg in leg. I was like, I've never been this close to a human. I was just like, oh my God. But it was like, it was so cold. And we're like rubbing each other, like back and arms and where we're cold. And one guy got up to do the burpees and the jumping jacks because he was just like the guys on the one thing about me being small is that you really can, I could warm up pretty easily and curl up, and a big guy can easily like smother me and keep me warm. But like, I can't smother you. I mean, like, I am so tiny. I am a fourth of you. So it was really interesting to see how we adapted and did that whole made it through the night. Yeah
With teamwork you'll be fine. As long as you're in a team. But if you're by yourself, cold, wet, and sandy, oh no, forget about it. You're done. You want to know something really sneaky though?
Yeah,
We didn't have any night vision.
no way.
All we had was flashlights. That was it.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I will say, since you guys mentioned that, we did see the drone though. No, you definitely had the drone because we did see it at one point, and we had to had to assess if it was too far away or if it was like where you guys could see us through it. But I was like, we all was like, no, they can't. Well, we did spot it, but those heat things, I didn't know. Like, to me, I'm glad you mentioned that you didn't have it, because I also learned so much from all of your lies. Because I didn't know that like you can see through a bush or like all that. So our hiding spots had to be a little bit more sneaky, or I would have just stayed where I was. I would have just, we were like, oh, and in the middle, I'm like, they're not going to find us. We were a little bit off the road. So I was like, they could see, we did go down a little bit further, but we went right behind the rock because we were like, this is the best spot because you're not going to see us from the top. And we thought you had those goggles and you'd be able to spot us right away, because if we're in a bush or on the grass or all that stuff, so the rock, we were like, you can't see through. But I didn't know that. Again, like, I was just got lucky with this team that knew that. I was like learning everything that where they were going, tracking, and the goggles and the rock, and then the tree trunk to keep us in one spot so we didn't keep sliding down the mountain. Like God, I had them. I didn't think of any, like, none of that, no logic in that. I mean, like I said, my family's never camped a day in their life. Like, I was just like, so it was really, really interesting in that aspect.
Oh, and by the way, the drone was just a noisemaker. You couldn't see a damn thing in the screen. It was just dark. You couldn't see anything at all.
No way.
It was just a noisemaker. That's all we used it for.
I love learning all. I mean, like, there's so much stuff that I didn't know, and I only had my perspective of the experience, versus your perspective of being the instructor. I wanted to know what you thought about me. I wanted to know what if you knew me prior to that, like you mentioned the social media and all that. I wanted to know what you were thinking along the lines. I heard that you guys were, I don't know if this is accurate, but I heard that you guys were a bit concerned about me because you found out I had no jacket. You found out I only had cotton. You found out I had no other clothes. And I heard that you guys had a little meeting. I'm not sure if this is accurate, because you were like, she's the one we have to be really concerned about at night. Is that accurate?
Yeah, because we didn't know that you were with the team. And we thought you were alone in cotton with no jacket. Oh my God, recipe for disaster. and you
Yeah.
like 60 pounds. So how much blood do you have in your body for real? So yeah, we were worried about you. We had a couple meetings just about you, trying to figure out, what the best course of action was for you. I think we had at least one instructor the entire time looking for you specifically, just because we were pretty damn worried about you. Yeah, and then once you came back the next day, it was just like a huge weight off my shoulders. Like, oh, thank God, everybody's back. Nobody's dead. I'm not going to jail. Awesome.
Well, we also, one thing that you had us do too was like throughout it, one thing you guys stressed on day one was lying, cheating, and stealing. And you were like, you got to do whatever you can. Every moral you have has to go out the window, where you have to like lie, cheat, and steal to escape, and get out of the situation. I struggled with that so much in the beginning, like the first couple of days, like first day, like when we were even doing the SERE pants and you guys were like, you want to take some, like one of the guys with me was like, take an extra one, put it in your pocket. And I'm just like, they're going to see. I was like freaking out, like on all of that. When am I going to get caught? Is this going to, like, in my mind, like, just knowing that I have to do things like that, I was just, and then to hide stuff, you were mentioning like hide stuff around the mountain so you guys can go to it. And part of me was like, I'm not going to go to my stuff. Like, I was just like, I'm just going to do whatever I can to get out, like not let anyone see me again. Cause here you are hunting us all night. Like, you're going to know if I'm going to go in this area, to get some stuff or whatnot. And I was like, I didn't know if I had the courage to go back to get my stuff, because I was just always in constant fear. I was always in constant fear of getting caught. And that was just like literally like the worst thing that could happen to me in my mind. Mm-hmm. So another thing too, I remember when I came back, they mentioned the first thing we did was they interrogated the group or whatever to find out where your stuff was and to see if you at least had something. Mm-hmm. So they all checked to see, and they realized like my stuff was still there. And they were like, then we were even more concerned. But like, I knew in my mind, I was like, I dropped my water on the way, on the run down, like dropped the water. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, don't go back, just keep on going. But I like, had no water all night, which for a night, whatever. But, you drag this out to an actual kidnapping where it's days or something like that. This is a whole different ball game. But it was definitely interesting the way, you don't eat. And when I was there, again, I didn't know any of this stuff. I have to be like on the brink of death to eat ramen noodle. I was just like, oh my God, people are eating food from a bag that they're heating up with water. I'm like, all the chemicals that are in that. And I'm like, I brought fruit the whole entire time to get me through this. That's all I ate was fruit. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's all I had. And that's all I brought, because I was like, what am I gonna, again, this is coming from someone like doesn't camp. I'm a bit high maintenance. I'm very high maintenance. So like, that's like, and when I mean by high maintenance, like I rarely ever eat out. Like I'm all grass fed, grass finished, no seed oil, only filtered water. I'm showering in filtered water. Like I am like that high maintenance person. Like I'm not putting anything on my face but beef tallow. Like I am like that, no sunscreen. Like I am that high maintenance where it's like, I don't want a chemical on my body. Like the nail polish, shampoo that I use, it's like coconut oil. I mean, like, I'm telling you, like zero. I am that person. And I'm like, and now I have to go into the woods and like, I can't eat out of a bag. I'm like, it's just not going to happen. Like, and yet, and it was, my stomach that night, not good. I was like, oh my God, like I need substance, and it was rough. It was a rough night, and it was a rough 2 days after that, like from my body recovering from that experience.
I think you're the perfect type of person for something like this, because it really highlights like how good we have it in the US, like how much stuff we have where we can shower in filtered water, for fuck's sake. Oh my God. And then there's dudes in Africa that don't have any water at all, but here it is. No, it has to be filtered. Is it alkaline water? Is this water gluten-free? That's the only thing I'll shower. Like it highlights how well that we have it. And then to take people from your walk of life and turn them into savages, they're going to appreciate everything so much more. And you're the perfect person because you're open-minded enough to learn these things that aren't comfortable. You're just a perfect person for this. And I hope everybody that hears this, sees this, listens to this, knows that you can become a savage too.
That was a perfect like closing to this, to get our viewers to understand that like I can do this, you guys can do this. To put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, that it's a safe environment that builds up your mental and physical strength. And I really am, obviously this is the mindset lesson from the field. I'm all about the mind. And your whole entire thing was about mindset. You know, you're messing with our minds. We had to get through all these hurdles and challenges, which really came from our mind and coaching ourselves to get through it, and also going against you guys who's also messing with our minds. So I think every person should, why not? Like, just sign up, just experience it. And I'm so glad to have you on the show and to give insight that I didn't even know, because it's just, I mean, it's a different, reading the chapter in my book is my perspective. It was cool to hear your perspective, especially for our readers that are not only listening to this podcast, but also reading the book. So thank you so much for being on the show with me. I am so grateful.
It was so good to see you again. Thanks for having me on. Hoping to get to do it again with your next book.
Oh, who knows? Who knows? I definitely want to put myself into another situation like this. I definitely want to do the whole thing, go through the kidnapping. You know, I escaped the first time. I feel good about that. Now I want to see how I can do with a little bit of torture or a lot. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see what's next. But thank you again for being here. Thank you everyone who is listening. Go like, share, comment, subscribe now. Become Patreon members who get full access to our bonus episodes and extra goodies that only our Patreons get. And tune in next week for our next episode.